Greetings and welcome to Crossfire, guys. This is the Cyber Hitchhiker behind the mic, and welcome also to all of our Joy Radio listeners, to the hundreds of thousands of people that tune in every day, to all of those that stream from our website. Welcome, welcome, welcome to all of those from the 137 countries that we are digitally broadcasting to. And also to the few that might have just joined us recently. Our family is forever growing. We are having new presenters, new hosts, and new listeners all the time. Shout out to all of the new people that we have now joined the satellite package of AfriForum TV here in South Africa. So if you guys are tuning in on the AfriForum TV platform, welcome, welcome, welcome. And then also, guys, to all of our Crossfire addicts that join into Crossfire on Spotify and every other platform you can get your podcast, welcome. We thank you for your support over this long 8-year journey that we've been doing Crossfire now. And guys, we have got Father's Day and we've got Youth Day coming up in South Africa very shortly. And I thought this is an opportune time to get one of our guests back on the show, Dr. Ron Archer, who's joining us from America today. He was on the show a few weeks back, and we titled that show Saved from Suicide. But he was also saved from murder because he was almost not even given the opportunity to be born. But for you guys that want to hear that testimony, you can go and listen to it on the Spotify channel at the Crossfire Podcast, or on Apple Store, iTunes, and anywhere else you want to listen to it, and hear this amazing testimony of God's grace and mercy and God's plan and purpose for a person, for a man, for a father, just to be who he is. And we thank Dr. Ron for everything he's done for the kingdom and his ministries. The more I speak to him, the more I'm blessed, because it lights a fire in me, Dr. Ron, to do more. Because even at your age, I wouldn't say that you're a day over 37, but you're actually in your 70s already. And you've had an amazing health journey. Now, there's a prelude, guys, to next week's broadcast we are going to be doing. We'll be speaking about Dr. Ron's journey on health and fitness regarding his crazy weight loss that he has gained. Well, should I say lost, not gained. So gained his health, lost the weight. So Dr. Ron, welcome, and welcome to this week's episode, The Fatherless Crisis. So before I hand over to you, where you can just speak a little bit more about your ministry into this fatherless crisis that you guys experience in America, I just want to drop this quickly, because I want guys to understand, for those that might not know, South Africa is an outlier when it comes to these types of things. And I was looking at some stats to get the latest stats for you guys regarding fathers in South Africa, fatherless households, child-headed households. And I thought it was bad, Dr. Ron, but I was actually shocked at these latest stats that have just been released in the last couple of months. And it is a lot worse than what I even realized. So South Africa remains an outlier globally when it comes to the number of children who do not live with their biological parents. But there is something crazy that's going on where we can see a direct relation to our teenage pregnancies and fatherless households that I didn't realize were actually linked. So biological father presence in South Africa, around 35.6% of South African children live in the same household as their biological father, 1 in every 3. But there is, and I think this is encouraging, I didn't realize this is some good news for those out there. There's been a rise of what we call social fathers. And intriguingly, 40.3% of children live with men who are not their biological fathers, but extended family structures like grandfathers, uncles, stepfathers, older brothers who step in and are actually providing support, which is extremely encouraging. Roughly 46% of all children, which is around 9.6 million children in South Africa, live in households without their mothers and without their biological fathers being present. Well, actually, no, that's without having their fathers being present. With both parents being absent, extremely high as well. It's around 20%. So 1 in 5 children in South Africa live in a home with no parents. And the crazy thing is, guys, you might think, well, have they lost their parents? Maybe. No. The crazy thing about this stat is most of these children have both of their parents. They just choose to neglect or just throw the child away and not be part of that child's life, which is absolutely shocking as far as I'm concerned. So if we have to look at the correlation now, Dr. Ron, before you start with teenage pregnancy stats, there is one encouraging thing. We had about 114,000 teenage pregnancies last year, and that was a drop of around 15% from the year before, which means there were less. But the crazy thing about this is it's around 1,200 of these girls are actually under the age of 14, and around
Mm.
600 of them are giving birth as 11 and 12-year-olds. Which it literally, I can start crying right now because that is a child that's not even close to being a parent, a mother. Their bodies, I don't think, are even supposed to be able to even handle that kind of stress. So there's a massive disconnect between how the government sees things and how we see things as Christians regarding the core social family structures of our communities. The government wants you to experiment. They give you condoms at young ages, and then they complain about these kinds of stats and trying to figure out what have we done wrong. Well, you are basically doing everything wrong regarding what you are teaching these children, and also what you are teaching parents about children. Children aren't special. They aren't wanted. You can just get rid of them when you feel like it. So there's been an eroding of the family structure. But Dr. Ron, you are here today to specifically speak about the fatherless crisis. You know more than anyone about this because you grew up without a father. And they can go and listen to that full story with your testimony, but I'm pretty sure you're going to touch on it now. But you've been involved in ministry regarding this fatherless crisis, whether it be prison ministry, community ministry, equipping and discipleship, support groups for many, many, many years. And I'd like you to just drop some of these nuggets, or a blueprint, could I say, and some of this knowledge for our South African pastors and people that might be joining in to the show, as well as the men that might be listening who are one of these absentee fathers or one of these guys that has actually just disappeared and left his family. Dr. Ron, over to you. I think I've done enough talking.
Vaughn, it is always a distinct honor and privilege to appear on your vast, powerful network where you reach so many for the gospel, for education and empowerment. And I'm looking forward to joining you all in September, October, as we bring the various groups together that are going to make a difference in the lives of all those who care about families, about people, about children. And I'm just really invested in this issue of fatherlessness and kids growing up without dads. As you said earlier, I grew up without my biological father. And people ask me, what does it feel like as a man to grow up without a dad? And I can tell you the best way to explain it is to feel like a mannequin, where you look like a person, you dress like a person, but there's a hollowness inside of you. You're not really sure what it means to be a man. You're not really sure what it means to be a leader. You have to kind of figure it out. It's like being a blind man in a dark room chasing black cats that simply are not there. You're groping, you're trying to figure out in a fog and create your own identity. And it's very difficult. And what it creates is a sense of low self-esteem, self-doubt, insecurity, and a lack of identity. That the danger is there's so many other forces out there that are more than happy to fill that void, gangs and various groups that are not positive, who will see that and become predators and say, oh, you don't have a dad? I'll be your daddy, and teach you the wrong things and teach you how to use drugs and teach you how to do crime and teach you how to be a breeder and not a leader. So it is in America. It is the number one issue that has a negative impact on the behavior of young men and women. So let me give you some stats about our country and do some comparison. In 1960, in America, 20% of children grew up without their dads. 20%. In 2025, it is up to 75% of children in America, in the Black community particularly, that are born out of wedlock and grow up in fatherless homes. Look at that difference. What happened between 20% in 1960 and 75% in 2025? A few things happened that created this crisis, and it is one of the number one crises in America that if we fix this, let me repeat this, if we fix this issue, 80% of the social ills, teenage pregnancy, drug abuse, dropping out of school, violence, gang membership, teen suicide. All of these issues will be resolved based upon our psychometric studies and my deep research. I've written a book about this called The Power of One Man. I was asked by President Bush to take on the task of researching what the problems are, what has caused it, and how do we correct it. So let's go back to 1960. 20% of kids grew up without dads. Now, 75%. Few things happen. One, most of the black dads in 1960 had great jobs. They worked in the U.S. factories, Ford and Chrysler and GM and U.S. Steel. They could buy a home. They could raise a family. They had self-worth. They had self-esteem. Well, all of those jobs in the inner city that were once there in the 60s went to Mexico, went to China, and they were gone. And so let me give you this. In 1960 in America, the number one employers was U.S. Steel, Ford Motor Company, General Motors, and Alcoa Aluminum. The number one employer today in the United States is Walmart. In the 1960s, a man could make almost six figures working as a factory worker. Today, he makes minimum wage. So that's one. The second issue, what we call government unintended negative consequences with good intentions. We always say the path to hell is paved with good intentions. So in 1968, in 1965, a U.S. President, Lyndon Johnson, created the Welfare Society. It was called the Great Society. And there they saw the epidemic of growing fatherless homes, and they offered what was called ADC, Aid to Dependent Children, or the welfare system. And they would provide women with housing allowance and education allowance and food stamps and free medical care and a lot of social things to help women who had kids and didn't have a man. Here was the caveat. All of those benefits, all of that help would go away if the father came back into a home. So think about that you can get all of these benefits as long as the father stays away. So if he comes home, you stop getting the help with the kids and the food and the housing and education. So a mother stood back and said, wait a minute now, when I compare Johnny with Uncle Sam, we call Uncle Sam US, I'm going to marry Uncle Sam. And that became an epidemic of women abandoning their men to marry the government.
Sure.
And the government set it up where it was better for them economically, for housing, education, to not have a father in the home. So men were taught, you don't have any value. You aren't needed. You aren't important. Matter of fact, I don't want you because I will lose benefits. And that became an epidemic. And by 2025, the women understood if I have more babies without a man, I get more money, I get more education, I get more help. But not understanding this. There's an old saying, Vaughn, and to your friends and family out there, you can pick your sin, but you can never pick the consequences or how long those consequences are going to last.
100%.
We discovered the absolute horrific consequences of the father being replaced by the government, that it created an epidemic of social deprivation, teenage pregnancy, suicide, gang activity, drug abuse, dropping out of high school, violence and anger, getting into juvenile detention and prison. All of these things exploded when the father is not in the house.
Sure.
And I can tell you from a personal experience, if it wasn't for the gospel, if it wasn't for having a great pastor in my life when I was a young man, who knows where I would have gone adrift without that. So when President Bush hired me and my organization to do a deep dive into this, there are a few things that we discovered that fixes the problem. So many times we get focused on the problem, but don't get focused on solutions.
Correct.
We are in the solution-based business. We want to find the answers and what we can do specifically to correct the problem. So
Yeah.
I want men to understand this. You are extremely valuable. You are essential for the good to happen in a family, in a community, in the country, and in the world. Let me give you a biblical foundation for that. Whenever God wanted to do a great work in a particular society, in most cases, he called out to just one man. Not a community gathering, not the government, not some welfare system. He reached out to just one man to be the catalyst for transformation. When the world was going to be destroyed by a flood, God reached out to just one man. And he said, Noah, here's the blueprint. Build me an ark based upon these particular cubits and what I need, and you'll save your family, and you will be chosen by me to start a new civilization. The power of one man. When God wanted to create a chosen people, a new people, he didn't call out to the government or some agency. He reached out to one man named Abraham. And he said to Abraham, leave your mother and father and go to a land that you know not of. Okay. He said, if I do this, then what's in it for me? He said, I'll make your seed like the sands of the seashore and the stars of the heaven. I will bless those that bless you and curse those that curse you, and you will be the father of many nations. One man. When God wanted to save a family from starvation, to create the tribe of Judah where Jesus was on the throne, he called out to a young man who was 17 years old, who had a dream. His name was Joseph. And he told Joseph, I will be with you through it all. And he went through being sold by his brothers into slavery, went to jail, and then he was elevated to prime ministership and saved his family from starvation. What I'm trying to say, don't be afraid because you have a past. Joseph had a past. He was a slave. He was a prisoner. He had a track record, and yet he submitted himself, and he said these words, what was meant for evil, God used for good to save many lives. When God wanted to set people free from being in bondage, he didn't call out to the government or a social welfare program. He called out again to one man through a burning bush. And he said to Moses, take off your shoes, for the place you are standing is holy ground. And I want you, one man, to go to Pharaoh and say, let my people go. And through one man, 2 million people were set free from bondage. When God wanted to put somebody on the throne of the kingdom of Israel in the tribe of Judah, he called out to a 12-year-old boy and he anointed him and said, he's a man after my own heart. And from that one little boy, at age 12, he became the king of Israel and changed the trajectory of the Messiah. When God wanted to put the gospel into Europe and write books to the many churches, he called out to one man on the Damascus road, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? And chose this man who hated the church, who persecuted the church. Again, it doesn't matter where you come from, man. It doesn't matter how bad you've been. It doesn't matter how broken you are, that he can take your pain and turn it to power. Take your wounds and make it wisdom. Take your stumbling blocks and make it a stepping stone. And that broken man, that persecuted man named Saul became Paul and changed off one man. And here it is now. When God wanted to save the world from sin, redeem mankind from hell, and to set man up to be sons and daughters again, he became one man.
Come on.
He was born in a manger. He came as one man, broken, battered in the Garden of Gethsemane, whipped and betrayed. And men, I want you to hear this now. You think you've been through something. Jesus had 12 disciples that he spent 4 years developing. And at the moment of truth, at Calvary, one betrayed him. One denied him. One doubted him, and all but one deserted him.
Yeah.
He was left with one that was at the cross. His name was John. So, men, don't get upset because somebody left you. Don't give up because somebody betrayed you. Don't throw in the towel because somebody doubted you. Don't give up because your father deserted you. You still have value. You still can be used. You still have an amazing future that God wants to use, because he says we have this treasure in earthen vessels, that the excellency of the power may be of God and not of us. There's something inside of you. There's something great in you. And men, you're like a tea bag. You don't know how great you are till you put in some hot water. And what's
Come
on
on.
the inside of you will
Yeah.
come out and change the color, the smell, the taste, the viscosity of the water. You have value and you are important. And so, what did we discover? We discovered when you have a fatherless child who doesn't have a dad, the number one thing that can change the head, heart, hands, and habits of that young child is having a mentor, somebody to step in and be that person, whether it be a coach, a pastor, a community leader, somebody to say, I know your daddy's gone. Now, in our research, listen to me, Vaughn, listen to me, men. What does it take to change pain, the power in that young person's life? 1 hour a week for 52 weeks.
Mm.
1 hour a week for 52 weeks of showing up, teaching, role modeling. And here are the 5 pillars we discovered in our work that transforms a broken child, a broken man, and gives them hope, future, and direction again to rebuild and restore these 5 things. Number one, be present. You don't have to be rich. You don't have to be educated.
Yeah.
You don't have to have a big title. You
Yeah.
don't have to have a best-selling book. Your presence
Yes.
is the present. Because when you show up, you're telling somebody, you're important. You mean something to me. Because the greatest thing we have is time. And when you take time out of your life and tell somebody, I'm going to spend an hour with you, listening to you, coaching you, helping you become more of what you want to be. So it's called presence. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is yet a mystery. Today is a gift. That's why it's called the present. So, men, maybe you have a prison record. Maybe you've been an alcoholic. Maybe you've been a drug addict. Maybe you've been unemployed. I want you to understand one thing. Your greatest gift is you. Just
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Just you showing up. I want you to understand that. That right there, men, hear me. You are the gift. Your voice, your face, your hands, your hug, your encouraging word. You don't have to come with stuff. You don't have to come with presents. You don't have to come with lots of money. I want to get through your head. Your presence is enough.
Yeah.
Number two, be present. Number two, be affirming. We get beat down by life and negativity. We're called toxic, and so many have been abused and molested and abandoned and rejected. So when you're going to a child's life or even to a man's life, speak life into his life. See how God sees them. See the beauty of their capabilities and their talents. There are 3 basic talents all people have. It's either interpersonal, administrative, or technical.
Mm.
Find out what that person does well and help them perfect it. Help them become, because you know what? Purpose produces passion. But you can only help somebody if you take time to listen to them. Listen. Listening tells people they're important. Listening tells them that they're valuable. So be present, be affirming. People live up to the words you speak about them. It says, raise up a child in the way that he should go. And when he is old, he will not
Yeah.
depart from them. So if you have nothing else to say, just remind them, greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. You can do all things through him that strengthens you. You are a winner and not a loser. You are wonderfully made. You have a divine purpose. And so you speak up and speak life. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. Number 3, be attentive. Don't try to pull them into your life. Get into theirs. Get
Yeah.
on the floor and play video games. Go help them do whatever they love doing. If they like puzzles, they like sports, if they like mechanical work, if they like art, find out what turns them on and then join in
Yeah.
and work alongside of them, meet them where they are, connect with them with what they love, and then you build a bridge for their future. So be present, be affirming, be attentive. Now, here's the key we found out in our study. If you do nothing else, listen to this, because this makes it or breaks it. It builds up or tears down. Be consistent. It is better not to get involved at all than to show up and disappear.
Yeah.
Then show up and then disappear.
Yeah.
Then show up and then disappear. It destroys belief in you that you're not for real, that you don't mean it. So make up in your mind, if you're going to start this 1 hour a week, because change must be intentional. It can't happen by itself. It's not magical dust. You have to be consistent, even if it's a Zoom, but don't abandon the person you're mentoring. Or we do here in one of our places we'll take 4 men to mentor 1 child. So I have a week, then that person has a week, and that person has a week, so that there's coverage. So there's not so much pressure on you when you got to show up every week. So we do a 4-to-1 ratio. We get 4 men for 1 child and say, okay, I got this week, you got next week, we got this week. And it really helps to make sure this kid is covered. Let me give you an example. I do a lot of mentoring in the inner city urban schools. And the first thing I ask the principal, give me a child who's fatherless, that's poor, that's underperforming, and that has some challenges and problems. He gave me this one kid named Darren. He was catatonic, which means he didn't speak. He had been through so much trauma, so much abuse, he refused to talk.
Sure.
But he loved football. And I got a couple Super Bowl rings, so I showed him my ring, and we went out and we started this playing catch. And man, we talked about, I was talking to him about my life in football and things I learned. And I said, you know what? The way you catch that ball, you can do anything. You got talent. You know what? You were made great. Just in our first hour, his mother came to pick him up. Doesn't speak. He ran her and said, Mommy, I can catch. Mommy, I'm going to be a star. She fainted.
Come on.
Because I want you to understand, when I was a boy, I was a great football player. And I would go to my games and I won a lot. But here's what I remember most. I would see these other dads come and put their sons on their shoulders and take them out. Do you know, my whole life, I wanted that experience?
Yeah.
What would it be like to be picked up by a stronger man and put me on his? I've never had that experience. I've always wanted it, or to hear a dad go, great job, son. I'm proud of you. You are amazing. Where I got that from, thank goodness, was a mentor who was able to, here it is, reparent me. So many men need to be reparented. Even though they're big and they're strong, they need a man to be a father to them.
Yeah.
What does a father provide? He's present, protects, provides, affirms, consistent, a role model. You become what you behold. You see, the entire movie, The Lion King, which many have seen, right, with Simba, Mufasa, and all that, it's about fatherlessness. People don't know that. The writer
I
wrote
was
this
gonna
story.
ask you about this because I saw the Mustafa Simba connection in one of the lines on your
I'm
website.
trying to tell you,
Yeah,
I'm trying to help. The entire movie is about the negative effect of losing a father.
yeah,
When he was a small lion, his father was around and showed him the kingdom, taught him what it meant to be a leader. And he's still young, and his father dies. And then negative influences come, and he's filled with fear, and he runs away from his responsibilities. He runs away from his family. He abandons his role, and he goes out, and most of the words in that movie are African, Swahili.
yes,
So Akuna Matata, which means basically don't care about responsibility, don't care about who you are, don't care about your role. And he lives with these two other people, and they just do nothing of value. Time is being wasted. He's not being developed. His whole community is being torn down. It becomes the ghetto because the father figure is not there, and all hell breaks loose. And the gangs come in called the hyenas. They eat everything up. They abuse the women. Interesting, isn't it? Wow. So what happens? What changes Simba's life? A mentor.
yeah,
His name is Rafiki. Rafiki. What does that mean in Swahili? Friend, mentor. He shows up. He's present. He speaks life into this lost man. He shows him who he is and what his destiny is and reminds him of the greatness that flows through his veins. And he says to him, I know your father. He said, my father's dead. No, no, no. He lives in you.
yeah,
And I'm saying to you, I know the Father. That's what Jesus said, our Father, who are, I know the Father, and He is in you. Greatness is in you. Talent is in you. Resiliency is in you. Accomplishment is in you. Fortitude is in you. And when he heard those words, he was inspired to. Now, he had to go back and face some pain. That's part of growth. He had to go back and face his failures. He had to go back and face his responsibilities. But remember this, guys. There's two great laws of physics in the universe. The law of gravity, which holds us down. It keeps us on the ground. It pulls us down. It's a very powerful law. But there's a greater law than gravity. What is that? It's the law of aerodynamics. A 20-ton plane is on the ground because of gravity, and the wind is blowing. The only way that plane can break the law of gravity is by turning its nose to face the wind, to face the adversity, to face the storm, and then to go full speed into it. And when that wind goes over the wings of the plane, what is called a vacuum is created. The other wind pulls up, and the plane can lift and break the law of gravity and kiss the face of God and go places thought it could never go. Face your storm, face your past, face the wind that is blowing, and you are designed to fly and to soar. Don't be afraid to turn around because you can do it. You're built to overcome. You're built to transform. Go back to your children. Go back to your family. You are strong. They need you. So here we go again. Be present, be affirming, be attentive, be consistent. And the last, make up your mind and say, fatherlessness ends with me.
mm,
This ends. This
yeah,
generational curse stops with me. No more. I'm going to be the person that breaks this trend in my family, in my community, in my country. It's called being committed. You see, I want to stress the difference between casual involvement with Father and personal commitment.
Mm.
Casual involvement versus personal commitment is very similar to ham and eggs. That's a strange analogy. How so? With ham and eggs, the chicken was casually involved. The pig was personally committed. It's going to cost something. You got to give up something to be, it's not free.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a free lunch, but the rewards. Now, let me tell you a personal story. I have a son. His name is Christopher. He's a big guy. He is a military officer in the Space Force. He has
Wow.
a PhD in cyber intelligence and cybersecurity. And he's an amazing guy. He's married with 3 kids. And we did a lot of things together. We traveled. He was on Air Force One with me when I served President Bush and President Obama. He was with me, my work in Africa, in Europe. He was with me with the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He was with me when we met kings and prime ministers and football players. He had signatures from all the biggest play. So one day I came home and he was about 12 years old. And I said, man, of all the things we've done together, what meant the most to you? Right. And there's a lot of stuff. So I thought it had to be Air Force One. He's sitting in the president's chair. The president gives him a presidential flight jacket. He's eating presidential candy. He is laughing with the president. I said, that has to be it. I said, so tell me, what was the greatest thing that impacted you the most? What he told me made me weep. It made me stop in my tracks. He said, Dad, you don't know what meant the most to me of all the things. I get choked up now when I think about it. He said, you know what meant most to me? I said, no, tell me. When you would come home after a busy trip and busy 2 weeks away, and you walk in the house and you grab a football and you grab me and we go outside in the backyard and we play catch for hours. He said, that meant the world to me. I had you all to myself.
Yeah.
And it was just me and you, father and son, throwing that ball back and forth. And I was the most important person in your life at that time. And we could talk about anything with that ball being our truth rope. We could talk about girls. We could talk about grades. We could talk about low self-esteem and doubt and whatever. This man is 37 years old. He's 6'2", 225 pounds, a leader of thousands of men. When I go see him, when I show up to his house, he becomes that 12-year-old boy.
Yeah.
And he grabs that ball and says, Dad, can we go play catch?
Mm.
I need to talk to you about life. And we go outside and we throw that ball. And that is our bond. We can talk about anything.
Yeah.
And now what has happened after we do our time, he brings my grandsons out and we throw the ball to each other. So I grew up without a dad. It was a generational curse that affected me. But I said, man, my mom was a prostitute. So much shame, so much low self-esteem. I stuttered. I went to bed. I was called stupid. I had nobody there at the time to lift me up. But I said to myself, this curse dies with me. No more. No more. So listen, guys, nobody was as bad off as I was, very few. We were so poor, we had to borrow water from our neighbors. We were so poor, we had to borrow electricity from our neighbors. We were so poor, we would have a big 50-pound bag of potatoes, and that lasted us the whole month. We were a struggling, poor, almost lost our home many, many times. I was abused sexually and beat up and broken nose. I come from the gutter, guys. I come from a home of shame and dysfunctional and no faith and no belief. So I'm alive to tell you, it doesn't matter where you start. It doesn't matter how broken you think you are.
Mm.
It doesn't matter how beat up your past has been. You are awesome and valuable, and the best is yet to come. So here's my daily meditation as a father, as a man, as a mentor. When I wake up in the morning, here's what I say: forgive me. Number two, fill me. Number three, help me. Number four, bless me so I can bless others. Number five, use me. Number six, restore me. Let me tell you it again. This is my daily, every day I wake up. Forgive me. Sometimes, guys, we mess up. We say the wrong things. We do the wrong things. We do some things that are stupid, but everybody in the Bible messed up, jacked up. So forgive me. Then fill me. You know, we talk about the fruit of the Spirit, and we know they're 9, right? Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, humility, and self-discipline. And we just think that's how we're supposed to know them. I was in Israel, and a rabbi said, no, 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 no. This is not how it was meant to be taught. It's called triadic. And I said, what does that mean? He said, it's a third, a third, a third. I said, explain that to me. He said, the first 3, love, joy, and peace, is what you get in your private time, in your devotional time, in your meditation time. You experience and get filled with the love, the joy, and the peace. It overflows with you. So the more time you spend alone in deep meditation and deep, deep consecration, you get overfilled with the love, joy, and peace. You get that. Number 2, you are able now to give the second 3, patience, kindness, and goodness. I'm going to tell you right now, when I spend time alone in meditation, it changes me. It changes everything about me, my attitude, how I feel about myself, how I feel about others. I'm more patient, I'm more kind, I'm more good because I'm filled with love, joy, and peace. And then the third section, I get to give and I become. The third, what is it? I become faithful, I become humble, and I become self-disciplined. And that's how I was able to lose 145 pounds of fat and put on 20 pounds of muscle, because I began to understand discipline. You know, one of the greatest things men can say to themselves is no. I will not go there. I will not do that. I will not indulge in that. When you're able to be self-disciplined, you are truly free. And these are the things we've learned that make a difference. It's to remind men, you make a difference. It changes. And so after we studied this, spending 1 hour a week for a full year, in our research, grades went up 2 grades from C to A's. They became respectful in their homes. They began to volunteer in their community. They began to respect young ladies. They wanted to be difference makers. They wanted to be married and have a family. They wanted to pass on what they were given. They did not go to truancy. There was no longer any dropouts. They left the gangs, because you become what you behold. And this is what we've learned. This is the success that we're having. And this is the joy I want to bring of the strategies to South Africa, and to help you become the men, the dads, the fathers, the mentors, the Rafikis that I know you're called to be. Vaughn?
Phew, Dr. Ron, that was a lot in that short space of time. I'm very happy that you were able to share that and share a little bit of your heart, because if there's one thing I know I missed, was my father being there. And unlike you, where your father was literally not there, my father was there. He was just absent. He was either at work or he was at drunk all the time. And he believed that just by providing money and giving us the bare minimum to survive between my mom, my sister, and myself, that he was doing his job. There was no "I love you." There was no hugging. There was no sitting on his lap. There was no nothing. And I understand that feeling of just wanting to do something to try and show your dad to get him to spend more time with you. That's why when you spoke about this throwing ball, it really broke me because I wasn't really in South Africa. We've got rugby. We don't have
Yes, I know it
the
well.
NFL. Yeah. And I wasn't really a rugby player. I enjoyed basketball. I got my SA colors for basketball. But even though I'm short, I was one of those point guard guys. I wasn't one of
All right.
the tall
All right,
guys.
Steph Curry.
Yeah. Steph Curry's got nothing on me. No, just teasing, just teasing. But I remember playing rugby and putting everything into rugby just for my dad to notice me. And
Yes.
the only time he ever noticed me was he came. We've got what we call Craven Week Schools Rugby, where they choose your provincial guys to go and get your provincial colors, and then you go on to national level. And the only time he ever came to support me was at this Craven Week Schools Rugby event. And it was a week before my birthday, which is literally around this time of year. It's my birthday in a couple of days on the 20th of June. And I remember trying my everything to get my dad to notice me. And when he arrived to watch me, all the other parents were there. He arrived blind drunk. He was
Oh,
falling all over the stands.
oh,
Uh, I've lost my cartilage in both of my knees due to rugby injuries. And
wow,
my
wow.
first was when I was 15. At this one time, my dad came to watch me, blind drunk, highly embarrassing for me. But you know what? I didn't care, Dr. Ron. The fact that my dad was there was
That's the point.
it was more
That's
than
the point.
anything. The craziness was the guy rugby tackled me with his studs up and he knocked my kneecap off from the front of my knee to the side of my leg and my
Oh my
cartilage just
God.
shattered. So I had to get stretchered off the field. And I remember just looking to see what my dad was doing, and he was rolling around on the floor laughing
Are you
at
kidding?
at this guy who's supposed to be a man being taken off the rugby field injured. Is this really my son? Who is this guy? What's going on here? And just by me remembering that one little moment, it shows you what an impact these little moments have on our lives, either for the positive or for the negative. And if I just had those moments with my dad growing up where I had that time, whether it was throwing ball or sitting on his lap in the lounge, where we could just connect and he could just be there as a father, I think my life would have turned out a lot differently. I was very blessed to get to know my heavenly father, thank goodness. And I've got a lot of mentors
Yes.
around me now, like Pastor Aaron, who I look at. I don't know, it's a weird way to try and describe Pastor Aaron because I don't know whether he's my big brother, my pastor, my father. He's sort of like all of these kinds of things rolled into one with the way we interact with each other. But he's one of my mentors. So, guys, I know that we're running out of time, Dr. Ron. Just maybe for a few minutes, if you've got time, the importance of churches getting involved with fathers regarding them being in prison. Should this be
You
a
know,
priority for our communities?
oh my goodness. Jesus said, I was hungry and you didn't feed me. I was a stranger and you didn't visit me. And he said, when did I see you this way? As you do unto the least of these, you do unto me. We have a program called Behind the Walls, where we go behind the prison walls
Mm.
and we father young men, old men. Remember, this is so critical to understand. And just give me time for this. We teach this to the men in prison. There's a thing called a circus, and there's an elephant that weighs 20 tons. And yet a little guy with a whip and a chair can keep that big elephant in bondage.
Mm.
How? Doesn't he know that the elephant wants to leave? Nobody can stop that elephant. They get the elephant when he's a little guy. They put him in chains. The chains have spikes facing inward. When the elephant tries to be free, which is the natural inclination, pain rips through his body and the nerves. And the more he tries to break free, the more pain he feels.
Mm.
So he tries hard, but the pain is so great, he tries a little less every other day, a little less. And he learned something. The less I try, the less pain I feel. And eventually he becomes what is called learned helpless. learned helplessness. He learns the less I try, the less I dream, the less I do, the less
Sure.
pain that I feel, and he becomes learned helpless. So much so that when he becomes a big elephant, to keep him in bondage, to keep him in prison, all they got to do is keep one bracelet on the right leg. And when he sees that, he doesn't even try to be free. He
Wow.
remembers the pain. He
Sure.
remembers the prison. He remembers being locked up and doesn't even dream he can be free. Doesn't even try to be free. And we call that arrested development, that he's stuck where he was when he was in bondage. He's stuck where he was in his development. So it's learned helplessness, arrested development. So when he looks in the mirror, Vaughn, he doesn't see what we see. We
Mm.
see a 20-ton pachyderm. We see
Yeah.
a 20-ton elephant. He sees a little elephant in chains. When he looks in the mirror, he doesn't see what he is. He
Mm.
sees where he was stuck, and his development is arrested. So you can see a man that's big and strong mentally, but emotionally, he's 12. Emotionally, he's 13. Emotionally, he's 9.
Mm.
He is stuck where he was when he had what is called a significant emotional event. And so many guys can go to prison, and that's where they're stuck. I'm a loser. I'm no good. I'm a criminal. I'm a felon. I have no value. My kids don't want to see me. My wife doesn't want to see me. My family doesn't value me. So we go in to remind him, you are a pachyderm. You are a gigantic, forget about the lion being the king of the jungle. It's the elephant that's the king of the jungle. Okay? Lions run when they
Yeah.
hit an elephant trunk blows. So we have learned helplessness, arrested development, and then we have what is called the psychology of entitlement. Because I'm a victim, because I've been abused, because I went to
Mm.
jail, you owe me. I'm a
Sure.
victim. I can't fix myself. I can't do anything. I can't become anything. And yet, so many of the greatest people in history spend time in prison. Joseph spent time in prison. The Apostle Paul spent time in prison. Daniel spent time in prison. Martin Luther King spent time in prison. Nelson Mandela spent 28 years in prison. Mahatma Gandhi spent time in prison. Don't tell me because you've been locked up that you cannot go up. It's
Mm.
part of the problem. We call it being in a pit. You know what word pit means? Profit and training, baby. Everything you've gone through in your life is a down payment on your destiny. You're not wasted. So I
Yeah.
want you to know we go in and we teach that you are a king of a jungle. And this time in the pit, what happens? You get gripped, flipped, stripped, whipped, ripped, equipped to be shipped. It all has value. It all has purpose. So we spend time in the prisons. And man, when we set these guys free, we have jobs waiting for them. So they become truck drivers. They become construction workers because a man needs a sense of purpose. And the most
Yes.
important thing, they agree to become mentors to somebody else who comes out of prison. So we reach one, we teach one, and we free one at a time. So it has value.
Mm. 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 Right, guys. So we're getting to the end of the podcast now, and this is for those that want to know. But Vaughn, hang on, you guys have just scratched the surface on these issues, and we are going to be touching on a lot of other stuff regarding what Dr. Ron does in his ministry and in his vocation over in America, and everything that is involved with. But if you guys want to actually get more deep into these things and get better equipped, whether you're a father, a son, a leader, a mother, a daughter, it doesn't matter. Dr. Ron is going to be in South Africa towards the end of September and October. And we are going to have him going around the country doing some tours. We are busy working on the itinerary as we speak. And if you guys want to get involved, make sure that you check us out. You can get hold of me through my social channels. Most of us know me. You can get hold of Cares Church. You can find them on the Facebook page. Message us, DM us. And with Pastor Aaron Munsami, who is the man with the plan for this actual tour that Dr. Ron's going to have in South Africa, we will be making all of this information available to you over the next few weeks coming up, how you can contact us and where you can get to see Dr. Ron when he's in South Africa. And we'll be touching on all of these topics in a lot more detail so that we can equip you. This is not about filling seats for Dr. Ron. It is about equipping. If you've heard his heart and you know his heart like I do, this is about discipleship, and it is about growing people and growing families, growing men, growing everyone into the communities that God wants us to be, as communities that are well equipped and can go out and fulfill that plan and purpose that God has for your lives. So, Dr. Ron, thank you so much for joining us again this week. It's always a pleasure. We will say to all of our listeners, this is Vaughn, aka the Cyber Hitchhiker, for Joy Radio and for Crossfire, saying goodbye and God bless.